Chapter 4 1997. She couldn't be sure which direction the noise was coming from, or how many rooms away they were, but the familiar sound of hotel cleaners in the hallway was the first thing to jolt Isla from the small amount of sleep she'd had. All hotel rooms are unfamiliar to start with, but this one was definitely not one she recognised. At least there was a small chink of light under the door showing the most likely escape route. The room smelt of booze and sex, nothing like the odour she would normally wake up to. This was not how Isla's mornings usually began. There was definitely breathing next to her, though. Far over on the other side of the huge bed that was too big for a normal room, and certainly the sort you found in a decent hotel. Ever so slowly, she moved her arms tight into her sides. Don't disturb him, whoever him was beside her. The last thing she wanted was a conversation, a retrospective, a fake plan to get in touch in a day or so, or an actual plan that turned whatever last night had been into something it was not. Where the hell am I, and what's that taste? Isla made the first attempt at trying to remember, mostly what she'd been drinking to have a desert-dry mouth and a head that was now paying the primary price for the indulgence. You need to learn the lessons of these nights. Tequila. Definitely tequila, but there'd been something else as well. Don't wake him up. Don't wake him up. Isla felt around herself, checking for any signs of clothing that she could start to collect up and get on with getting out. Nothing. As her eyes started to adjust to the darkness, she began to make out the shape of the body next to her. Not bad. No idea who it was, but you've done well there, she told herself. This sort of thing was not a habit of hers, but on occasion when it took her fancy to cut loose and not give a shit, these sort of things had been known to happen. Isla was a good-looking girl with a fantastic job for someone of her personality and age, and the opportunity to meet hundreds of new people every day. It was only natural for that to lead to occasional carnage as the world of work would drift seamlessly into fun in a bar and beyond. Water! Where was the water? More fumbling around the bedside table. An empty plastic bottle, the small ones that come in those tiny fridges in hotel rooms. Why did complimentary have to mean miniature? After the moments of recollection, she was no nearer getting out of the room. Something nagged in the back of her befuddled head that there was something important to do this morning. Why am I not at home? She began to attempt what should have been a simple process of sitting upright. She'd managed to sit upright every morning of her life, but this morning, if indeed it was morning, it was going to be more of a challenge than normal. Despite the hangover, physically it was going to be okay, but the process was more complicated by the need to not disturb the sleeping man, the fit sleeping man. Ever so slowly, Isla swung her legs over the side of the large bed, keeping her body low against the mattress so as not to disturb the sheet that covered them both. What time is it? I know I've got to be somewhere. Encouraged by an increasing sense of concern that she needed to get a move on, Isla's movements became less gentle, more purposeful. Her feet touched a carpet that was covered in clothes, hopefully her clothes, and so, using her feet, she began to pull them together, bending down to pick up what she'd managed to muster. There was a door on the far side of the room. Instinct said that was the bathroom, and with the clothes clamped tightly to her chest, Isla tiptoed towards the room. Drink water, have a wee, get some clothes on, and get the hell out. She'd figured she'd be out of there in less than 5 minutes. The sound of the cleaners in the corridor was getting closer. It was a three-way race to get out of the room before he woke up. She woke him up, or the cleaners knocked on the door and made all her efforts to stay quiet totally redundant. She reached the door, her hand patting it down to find the handle. What was his name? How have I ended up here? The question still had no answers. This isn't the bathroom, it's a bloody cupboard. The ironing board started to slide as the door opened and Isla dropped her clothes to stop it in mid-fall. Which one is the bathroom? Her eyes now fully adjusted to the dimly lit room, a process of elimination led her back over to where she'd come from. She'd failed to notice the door that had been right next to her all along. Creeping back across the room, Isla breathed in relief as she managed to get into the bathroom and locate and then turn on the light without any significant noise. And a bonus, he was still asleep. Water in, water out. Done. Relief at both ends. The clothes were a mixture of his and hers. There wasn't a complete set of anything. Decision time. How important is it to have my own socks? There was no way she was going to stay in the room longer than needed, so she quickly swilled her mouth with toothpaste in the tiny tube. She'd leave the toothbrush for the sleeping man. The whole aggressive teeth cleaning might make too much noise. Why are these things always so small? Shit! The sudden realization of where she needed to be had arrived. Isla was supposed to be having a meeting with her boss. She had no idea where she was, let alone how late she was running. My watch! Where's my watch? Shit! She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her blouse was crumpled. Shit! A stain! That wasn't going to come out quickly, and trying to do so would make it much worse. Isla pulled her jacket tight over her. Just about covers it. It will have to do. Now, what the hell is his name? Once again, she drew a blank as to who was in the other room. It had been nice, though. She'd started to remember that much as she veered towards maybe waking him up to say goodbye. Shit, I need to go. Although Isla could not be sure what time it was, and therefore whether she was indeed late already. It really was decision time. Find her watch and the bits of clothing she could probably do without, but any of these tasks increased the risk of waking him up. How much did Isla not want that conversation? She skulked back into the room, careful not to open the bathroom door too quickly, risking unnecessary creaking. Door out, left. Bed, in front. Light switch, where's my watch? For the first time since waking up, she made a quick decision. While there wasn't time to turn herself into the majestic princess BA always expect their female cabin crew to resemble, she could at least try to find the 18th birthday present which her parents had given her only a year ago. Everything else set. She flicked on the bathroom light, which immediately gave her enough light to play with. The watch was on the table underneath the TV. He's waking up. Shit, grab it and run. She lurched forward towards the table, tripping on a towel disguised as the carpet before dropping the bag she was holding, emptying the contents all over the floor in front of her. Shit, game over. Hello? Isla. Shit, he's awake. Of course he's awake now, dumbass. And he remembered my name. Why can't I remember his? Frantically, Isla gathered what she could from the floor, grabbed her watch, and made purposefully for the door without saying a word. As she reached the exit, whatever his name is turned on the bedside light, and she instinctively turned and smiled before catching her first full glimpse of the man she could feel she'd just slept with. Fit. Long hair. Sexy bod. Good work. How old, though? Looks younger. Surely that's not possible. Untempted to engage, she opened the door and left the room without another glance back. Finally, in the corridor, she checked her watch. Her meeting was in 20 minutes, but she still had no idea where she was. It would be a step too far to ask one of the cleaners which hotel this was. That kind of embarrassment was a little too much to handle in her current state. They'll think I'd been abducted or something. Just get outside. Looking out the window, she could see the runway. This was an airport hotel. Heathrow for sure. The Hilton over at Terminal 4. With a bit of luck, she wasn't going to be late. The best she could hope for now was to look tidy enough for the taxi driver to not drive off without her, and then apply in transit whatever concealer had survived her dropping bag moment before. There was no time to think about what had happened last night. It was the day ahead that mattered, and a meeting with Clark, her boss.